Well, howdy, friends and floor heads. We are going to do a little bit of prep here. So I came upstairs, did not plan to do this stream. I came upstairs to do some more prep for the upcoming live stream of Shiver that I've got planned for next month in December. And I said, you know what? I'm doing some kind of cool stuff with Notion and just in prep. I said, you know what? Let's stream it. And so that's why we're here. So when I'm prepping for a game, that's changed a lot. I no longer prep for story. When I prep for games now, I obviously want to prep to be ready to run the game as I am running it. So as a result, I need to have a lot of stuff at my fingertips. Because I don't prep for story, I don't have just a storyline that I'm trying to run here. I prep for situations. I want to be able to be nimble. I want to have all my tools and things that I need at my fingertips. NPCs, random encounters, different clues that can be found depending on the type of game. I want all of them at my fingertips. And most recently, I have found that the software Notion is the best software for me to do this. Now, it's a free software. You get some benefits by subscribing to it. I subscribe to it. It's super cheap. I'm not going to teach you how to use Notion. I'm going to show you how I use Notion. But if you want to learn how to use Notion specifically for RPGs, my good buddy Sean Kelly has got what I consider to be the best video on this, and that is how to set up Notion for your RPG. It's on the How to RPG channel. It's his channel, and he goes step by step on how to set up your Notion and really get it to a place where you can maximize its utility so that everything's at your fingertips as you're running it. So highly recommend it. Sean's a great guy. And this is a really, in my opinion, the best video on how to use Notion for RPGs, but you'll notice that there's a lot of them out there. I'm biased. I think Sean's is the best. All right. So I'm going to be running this game using Shiver, which is both of the brothers that made this game have been on my channel or been on the podcast. It's a wonderful horror system. Somewhat rules light, very unique mechanics. It's got funky dice, which are just all things that make me happy. But I've started from here. So this was a zine that I backed on Kickstarter called Campfire Carnage. And what this zine does is it really presents some neat ways to kind of set up a kids' summer camp horror game. Lots of tables, lots of different things to think about, areas to think about. This is where I had started. I found the premise of a kids camp horror 90s slasher type game, what I wanted to run in Shiver. I started with Campfire Carnage. I highly recommend going and checking it out. I'm trying to remember who puts it out. Squishy is the name of the company that publishes this. Hopefully they still have it available. It's wonderful. It's a great zine. Highly recommend, just even if you just get the PDF. So first thing I'd think of before I get into Notion or anything is, all right, what is going to be kind of the themes and the premise? So I wanted to go for 90s cinematic horror slasher. And just that kind of feeling of the Halloween, Friday the 13th, sleepaway camp type game. And Shiver's perfect for running that type of game. The premise is, I think, kind of interesting, which is my four characters, my four players. These characters are all going to be teenagers because it's 90s horror slasher, and they're all juvenile delinquents. They've all been convicted of a juvenile level of a crime as juveniles, all by the same judge, the Honorable Ezekiel Stone. And oh, by the way, huge spoilers for this AP, which is going to start in December. If you don't want to know what's in store for these players coming up, you do not want to watch this. You can watch it after the AP is over. And obviously I've already told my players not to watch this, but they're four juvenile delinquents. and they were given very harsh sentences for their crime, all by the same judge. Now, this judge, a couple years into their sentence, brings them in front in the court and says, I'll make you a deal. I think that part of the reason you're a juvenile delinquent and the youth of today, blah, 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 is because you don't get outside enough and you don't know what a hard day's work is. If you spend a week refurbishing this long neglected and abandoned kids' summer camp, I will commute your sentence. All right. So they all four characters sign up for it. So we're going to start the game with the detention bus dropping these four characters off in the middle of nowhere in Mississippi. There's a park ranger that's been assigned to take care of them. That park ranger, let's see, what did I ended up naming him? Ranger Jasper Bo Jenkins. Now, my friends call me Bo. You can call me Mr. Jenkins. This park ranger is in charge of our four characters. They're going to get to this summer camp and with a list of to-do items. Get it wired, clean up, fix the roof, that type of stuff. They quickly, when they arrive at this camp, see the condition this camp is in, and it's in a terrible condition. They've been set up to fail. Things go downhill from there. So there's my premise. So I said, okay, what do I need to get ready? So one of the first things I needed to do, and I leveraged Campfire Carnage for this, is I needed to put together what are the key locations where my players could go. And I need to be ready when they go there. So what I'm using is the board view of Notion. So you can see I've got it organized by categories. All of these different cards, think of these as like index cards, are right at my fingertips. This is, for those of you that watch the channel, this is the view that I have as I'm running Forbidden Lands, as I'm running Public Access, Brindlewood Bay, all my games, I'm having a Notion board in front of me. So here are my locations here. And let's say that they start off by going to the counselor's house. So I can quickly, if they say, hey, we want to check out the counselor's house where the counselors sleep, I can quickly click on that. It'll immediately bring up the counselor's house for me. Now, here are all the events that I have that can happen if they go into the counselor's house. There's a set of dog cages in the attic with help me scratched into the floor. There's a strange rot that gives way to what seems to be a mutated slime mold thriving in the pipes and the gaps between the walls. And there's a room which seems to be remnants of a scrapped museum of the 1700s, factory machinery, blah, 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 right? So these are events that could happen when they get there. I also want to have some descriptive tools in front of me. I'm not a box text person, so I don't read box text. So I want to have some things that are going to give me a sense of the look, the feel, the sound, and the smell of the outside of this counselor's house. So when they say to me, I want to go to the counselor's house, I can quickly bring this up and I've got some tools in front of me. So for look, I've got two main things. It's a two-story that looks like a two-story building that looks like a faint reminder of its former self. Peeling paint, broken and boarded up windows, and the wood of the walls and small front porch are all warped by time and neglect. So I've got that in front of me. I'm going to use those as prompts to then describe what they see. I'll go to feel. Here's something they get a sense of. I click on sound, something they can hear, and I click on smell. Now you're going to see I've got deeper descriptions on some of the other buildings because it's more significant. I'm not just going to say, here's what you see, here's what you feel, here's what you sound, here's what you smell. These are tools that are available to me. So as I'm interacting with the players, as they're approaching it, I can say, as you get closer, you can hear kind of a faint creaking sound, and it's the wood from that make up the walls of this counselor's house, and you can hear the wood creak as the earth and the forest has been spending decades just reclaiming this house for its own, destroying it slowly but surely and bringing it back into the soil. All of that by having a prompt. For smell, I've got decaying wood as it rots and begins to buckle under its own weight. So when they get inside, I can quickly bring up my inside look, feel, sound, smell. And you can see I've got several different prompts here that are going to be at my fingertips as they're going around and they're exploring this counselor's house. Last but not least, I've got a couple items that they could potentially find there. Same thing for the kids' cabin A. Here's the outside, look, feel, sound. Inside, look, feel, sound, smell. Again, my idea is to have this stuff at my fingertips as I am playing and running the game. Now, there's a benefit to this, and that is the prep of filling these out, right? So when I open up and create Kids Cabin A, I have my framework of the outside, look, feel, sound, smell, inside, look, feel, sound, smell. And I sit and I say, okay, visualize it myself. What are some prompts I can give myself when I'm playing? This preps me as well. So now I've got all my key locations right here. That's really the first place that I go. What's the lay of the land? Next, I put together my NPCs. So there's our ranger, Jasper Bo Jenkins. Now I haven't had a chance yet, but I'll put a short descriptive, 1 or 2 descriptive words in there. I likely might bring in a picture and have the picture in here that I can look at. I won't show the picture to my players, but it's a picture I as the GM can look at and use it as a prompt to help me describe Ranger Jasper Joe Jenkins. We, of course, got the judge. So you see these Janet, Marley, Gideon, and Caleb Crow. This is a kind of wild folk group that has been living in these woods that they're going to end up encountering, kind of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, hillbilly type horror, folkish horror here. These are 4 siblings that they might encounter. Rudiger Diggs, this is a hermit that they may come across. And then Dr. Terry Wilcom is a scientist who's been studying what's been going on in these woods, who has succumbed to the insanity that's happening. So Cody says, I love this way of running the game. I use OneNote for a similar reason, but this seems like a much better system. It's funny you say that, Cody. I also used to use OneNote, but this board system I find to be much more useful. It works great on an iPad too. It's like having my note cards in front of me, but it's organized in a much better way than I would. And let me see if I can show you, well, I'll get to that. All right. So locations, I've got my NPCs. Over here, I've got a couple random encounters. I need to fill these out. I'd like to have, when I run a game, I want to have 10 or 15 things that could happen. And these are the Raymond Chandler, someone kicks in a door and points a gun at you type stuff, where maybe the pace is lagging, maybe my players are struggling, and I need to bring in an event. I need something to happen. That's what this random category is. And I'll have some ideas in here, things that I can bring into the game to kickstart things, to push the players, to put some pressure on them. I have a category for clues. So there's 3 kind of big mysteries or unknowns that they're going to uncover during the game. One is discovering this family that I talked about, these 2 sisters and these twin brothers that have been living in the wilds of these woods. I want to portend their existence. I don't want to just jump and put these mutated, freakish, wild people into the game. I want them to find clues that hint at this. So I give myself a list of clues. You'll notice these clues are not tied to locations. These are, again, clues that I can pull from at any point. So one of them is they can hear Marley humming. Marley is the child of the 3 siblings. She's only like 7 years old, and she is nonverbal, but she likes to hum and to sing. And that could be creepy as shit, having a little kid humming in the woods. So that's there to remind me that maybe as things are lagging, I can have them hear Marley humming. I've got another one where they find crude traps along the trail to the Crow compound. So they find bear traps and things like that. Again, stuff that I can pull into it. One of them I have set here is Gideon, who's one of the twin brothers, attacks someone who has isolated themselves. Those are the clues that are going to lead them to find out and discover that these 4 siblings have been living out in these woods, and these 4 siblings have been grossly mutated by what's been happening here in the woods. The other thing that needs to be uncovered, so another category of clues, is what the military has been doing in these woods and the tie to Judge Ezekiel, the judge that sentenced them and then commuted their sentence with this thing. Essentially, the military has been dumping toxins in the swamp by these woods for decades since the closing of the camp. It has corrupted and mutated the wildlife, the plant life, the lake. It's just really done some bad things, and they need to discover that. So I put together some clues that would help them uncover the fact that the military has been doing this toxic dumping here. Not only that, but when the military realized that their toxins were mutating the wildlife and mutating people in the process, they, in fact, started studying it and tried to figure out whether there's military applications to what is happening to the Crow family and other people that are here. And there's a tie that they're going to discover between the military and the judge. The judge and the military cooperate, and the judge has been sending kids to this summer camp on a regular basis to create new study groups for the military. So these are things that they can find that can help uncover that. Last but not least, there's a presence in the woods called I'm calling the Warden of the Woods. Essentially, some sort of folk god of the woods has decided enough is enough. We are going to take back from what has been happening here. This pollution, this toxicity, these mutations, this vengeful spirit of the woods is going to reclaim this area. And it does that by creating this really messed up looking folk mask. It gets one of the previous juvenile delinquents that were assigned here to put this mask on. This transforms him into a Jason-like slasher baddie, right? Called the Warden of the Woods. So here are some clues that I can pull at any point I need to that hint at the fact that there is this slasher presence, this Warden of the Woods that's out there that has one goal, which is to kill any outsiders that come here to the woods. I also put together myself a bit of a structure. So where I'm going to start. So when I start my stream, I've got bulleted points for my intro. I'm not going to read again box text, but these are points that I want to make sure I hit as I start the game. And you can see that I've got my see, hear, smell, and feel also for when we kick off the game. And then when I get into Act 1, I'm going to list here what I think are key touch points and potential things that could happen in Act 1. Act 1 for me is the arrival and the revelation. So the arrival to the campsite and them realizing this is not a week to fix camping so I can mute my sentence. Something really, really bad is happening here. Act 2 is discovering the crows and the warden. So in Act 2 is when they find these 4 siblings that are really, really messed up, mutated, and they worship this warden of the woods. And it's like some straight up Texas Chainsaw Massacre, what is it? It's not, it's hillbilly exploitation type themes, right? And then they're also going to discover this warden, which is a baddie that they probably won't want to face and square up against. They might be able to handle this Crow family. They're not going to be able to handle this warden. So it's going to be, steering clear of it and running from it. Act 3 is when the military shows up to clean house. So my Act 3 is the military descending on these woods to kill the Crow family, to kill this Warden of the Woods, and to kill these 4 player characters. So the ultimate big baddie ends up being the military strike team that comes in. So that gives me that structure here. So this is the basic idea, right? I use Notion and I use the board system in order to help me with this. One thing I was going to show you is, let me see here, under Crash Chopper. So one of the clues that they can find that leads them to discover that there's a Crash Chopper, I've got 4 items here. You'll notice I've got this linked to another card, another part of the board. So behind Notion is actually a database system. But then even if you're not familiar with databases, Notion allows you to really take advantage of databases, even if you know nothing about them. If you know something about databases, you can do some really sick shit with Notion. But here I'm just doing a cross tag. So at the base of the trunk of this tree where this crashed Army helicopter is, this leads them to a location called the Shrine of the Forest God. And because I tagged it with one click, it immediately takes me over to there. I can also see when I'm in the Shrine of the Forest God where my backlinks are. So what is pointing to this? So you've got some really nice linking that can happen to, again, make things very quick and very easy to get to as you're running the game. If you want to learn really kind of some of the intricacies of setting that up and really taking full advantage of it, again, go check out Sean's video. Sean does a wonderful job of teaching how to set up your database in Notion and how to really take advantage of a lot of the stuff I've been doing. So that's it. So I think we're looking at mid-December. We're going to run this, and the cast is really, we got a really strong cast. 3 of them are people that have been on the channel before and really kind of took everybody by surprise. I think there's going to be three players that everybody really loves watching, plus a new player who is diving in head first, and he is ready to play with this. So I'm really looking forward to this. I have run this scenario offline for a group, and they've really been enjoying it. I think it's a neat scenario. It leans in hard on my touchstones. It really feels like 90s cinematic slasher, which makes me happy. All right. That's it. I appreciate everybody watching. We've got, a lot of people here live for something that was completely unscheduled. So I do appreciate that. And make sure you, thanks, Cody. Make sure that you like, subscribe, all that noise. And go check out some of the stuff that we're doing on this channel. I think Third Floor Wars right now is one of the best sources of non-D&D actual plays that's out there. And I hope you agree. Take care. Howdy, friends. Thank you for watching. All our content is archived and organized in playlists on the Third Floor Wars YouTube channel. Check it out. And if you could like, follow, subscribe, and even set your notifications to this channel on YouTube and Twitch, we'd appreciate it, and it'll make sure that you catch all of our content. I talk with creators, designers, and experts across the gaming landscape in every episode of our podcast, Tabletop Talk. Open up your favorite podcatcher and search for Tabletop Talk from Third Floor Wars. Support your creators. They make the content you love, and it's your support that makes it happen. If you want to help us, go to Third Floor Wars on patreon.com, and you can help us for as little as $1 a month. Thanks again. We'll see you next time. Take care.